It's strange how something as simple as answering the phone can feel like a social event we didn't RSVP to. You see the name light up your screen, and instead of excitement, there's hesitation. You stare for a second, maybe two, before watching it go to voicemail. Later, you'll text, "Hey, sorry, what's up?" because it's easier that way. We live in a time when our phones are constantly in our hands, yet we rarely use them for what they were originally made for. We type paragraphs, delete half of them, then start again. We wait for those three little dots to appear, only for them to vanish and leave us hanging in silence. It's a ritual now, one that says a lot about how we communicate, and maybe even more about what we're avoiding. Talking on the phone used to be normal. It was how we connected, how we caught up, how we shared things that mattered. Now a phone call feels intrusive, like someone stepping into your headspace without warning. Texting gives us space, time to think, and the comfort of staying in control. But that same control might be what's changing the way we relate to each other. So, what happened? When did the sound of a voice start to feel so heavy? This video isn't just about phones. It's about us, about why we'd rather type than talk, and what that says about how we deal with each other and ourselves. There was a time when the sound of a ringing phone meant excitement. Someone wanted to talk to you. Families had one shared line, and if you were a teenager, you'd stretch the cord into another room just to get a little privacy. Then came cell phones, and for a while, calling was still the main thing, until it wasn't. The early 2000s changed everything. Text messaging crept in quietly, first as a novelty, then as a habit. Each message was short and deliberate because every character cost money. But once unlimited texting hit, it exploded. Conversations became fragmented, constant but rarely deep. Platforms like AIM, MSN Messenger, and Yahoo Messenger taught us how to talk without talking. They made typing emotions normal, even intimate. Then smartphones arrived, and social media turned our messages into ecosystems. Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram DMs. Every app gave us a new way to communicate without having to actually speak. The shift wasn't just technological, it was cultural. Texting became the new social language, the unspoken default. A call started to feel like a disruption instead of connection. Over time, we built a communication style that values convenience over closeness. We can multitask while talking, ghost without consequence, and rewrite our words until they sound perfect. It's fast, efficient, and safe, but something gets lost in translation. The warmth, the spontaneity, the imperfection of voice. And maybe that's where this all begins. Not with our fear of calling, but with how the world taught us that the easiest way to communicate isn't always the most human. Texting gives us something that calling never could, the chance to control how we come across. Every message is a small performance. We edit, delete, retype, and reread until the words sound like the version of ourselves we want others to see. We can pause mid-conversation to think, to calm down, or to decide whether it's even worth replying. It feels like communication, but it's also a form of curation. On the other hand, a call doesn't give you that luxury. You can't edit your tone or backspace a sentence once it's out there. Your voice betrays everything: nerves, affection, hesitation. That rawness can be terrifying, especially when you've grown used to conversations you can polish before sending. Texting makes us feel safer because it creates distance. We can delay a response without seeming rude, or choose silence entirely without confrontation. It allows us to exist in relationships on our own terms, without the pressure of immediacy. But that control also limits something essential. Conversations stop being exchanges and start becoming calculations. The irony is that the more control we try to have, the less authentic we become. Every perfectly worded message, every carefully timed reply pushes us further from the honesty that real connection requires. A phone call doesn't let you hide behind punctuation. It's unpredictable, and maybe that's why it feels risky, because real emotion always is. There's a certain tension that comes with hearing the phone ring. It's not just the sound, it's what it represents. A call demands presence. You can't rehearse, can't edit, can't disappear mid-sentence. You have to respond now. For a lot of people, that immediacy triggers a quiet kind of panic. What if I say the wrong thing? What if there's an awkward silence? What if I sound weird? This is what's often called phone call anxiety, and it's more common than we admit. We've grown used to communication that gives us time to shape our thoughts before anyone hears them. A text conversation gives you that buffer. A call removes it completely. Suddenly you're performing in real time, with tone and timing carrying as much weight as the words themselves. For anyone with social anxiety, that can feel like a test you didn't study for. You can't predict how the other person will react, and you can't mute your own emotions. There's also the fear of judgment, that you'll be perceived as awkward, disinterested, or too intense, so we avoid it. We tell ourselves we'll text later, not realizing that what we're avoiding isn't the call itself, but the vulnerability that comes with being unfiltered. In a way, our comfort with texting isn't about convenience, it's about safety. A call exposes emotion in real time, while texting lets us stay in control of how much we show. But in protecting ourselves from discomfort, we also lose something vital, the chance to be seen and accepted exactly as we are. Texting makes it easy to stay close while keeping your distance. You can be available without ever being fully present. It's the perfect medium for emotional avoidance, a way to manage connection without risking the messiness that comes with real vulnerability. When things start to feel heavy or uncomfortable, you can simply stop replying, leave it on read, promise yourself you'll respond later. A lot of us use texting as a filter for emotion. When a conversation feels tense, we take time to craft the perfect response, something calm, balanced, detached. We avoid confrontation by turning raw feelings into carefully chosen words. And when someone else reaches out emotionally, it's easier to meet it with a heart emoji than with our actual voice. This isn't just about avoiding conflict, it's about avoiding exposure. A call forces you to face another person's reaction, the tone in their voice, the silence between words. Texting removes that feedback loop. You can say something difficult without hearing how it lands. That's comforting, but it also numbs the emotional reality of what's being said. We convince ourselves that this distance keeps us in control, but really it just keeps us disconnected. It's easier to manage people when they exist as words on a screen instead of voices in your ear. The problem is, emotions don't disappear just because we mute them. They wait quietly, behind every unread message, every conversation we never finish. Texting isn't just communication anymore. It's designed to feel like a game. Every ping, vibration, and notification lights up the same reward system in our brain that's triggered by slot machines. You send a message and then you wait. The moment you see those typing bubbles or a red notification, your brain releases dopamine, a little burst of anticipation that keeps you hooked. We've been conditioned to crave that instant feedback. The seen message means they're thinking about you. The typing bubble means they're about to respond. And when it disappears, that drop in dopamine feels like rejection, even if the person just got distracted. It's emotional gambling, a cycle of reward and disappointment that keeps us checking our phones long after the conversation has lost its meaning. These features weren't accidents. They were designed to keep us engaged, to make silence feel uncomfortable so we keep participating. Texting became more than just talking. It became a system of micro-emotional highs and lows. Every unread message feels like suspense. Every late reply feels personal. The conversation becomes less about connection and more about chasing reassurance. And because it feels so emotionally charged, we mistake this tension for intimacy. We think constant communication equals closeness, when really, it's just stimulation. The same screen that makes us feel connected is the one training us to crave attention in loops, not connection in depth. Every text we send is a small act of self-presentation. We don't just communicate, we perform. The way we type, the emojis we choose, the punctuation we use, all of it becomes part of how we craft our personality. A lowercase hey feels casual and distant. A hey with an exclamation point feels excited and open. Even a single period can change the mood of a message. Texting turned language into design, something we style, edit, and brand. We've learned to mimic tone through symbols and timing. The extra haha softens sarcasm. The 3 dots create suspense. The delayed reply adds mystery or sometimes passive aggression. None of this is random. It's how we manage impressions. It's how we say, this is who I am, or at least who I want you to think I am. In person, our personality is revealed through voice, expression, energy. Over text, we build it line by line. Every message becomes a piece of our digital identity. We become editors of ourselves, constantly fine-tuning how we appear to others. That control can feel empowering, especially for people who struggle to express themselves out loud. But it also turns communication into performance. Instead of speaking to be understood, we start speaking to be liked. Conversations become crafted rather than felt. And the more we curate, the harder it becomes to tell where the performance ends and the person begins. At first, texting feels like a lifeline, quick, convenient, always within reach. But when it becomes the main way we connect, something subtle starts to fade. Conversations lose their depth, emotions flatten out into words that can't carry tone, warmth, or real presence. A "how are you" becomes routine, and "I miss you" becomes easy to send and easier to forget. In friendships, it can make closeness feel like maintenance. You talk every day, but somehow feel less known. In relationships, it can turn intimacy into logistics, planning meetups, sending memes, avoiding real talk because it's easier to type around it. Even family chats start to feel like group updates, not genuine connection. The convenience that makes texting so effortless also makes it emotionally shallow. Without voice, we lose the music of conversation, the pauses, the laughter, the hesitation that tells you what someone really feels. Without seeing someone's face, empathy becomes guesswork. It's easy to misread tone or imagine emotions that aren't there. Texting gives us the illusion of closeness while quietly removing the very things that make connection human. We tell ourselves we're staying in touch, but sometimes what we're really doing is keeping relationships on life support. Enough interaction to feel present, not enough to truly connect. And after a while, that digital distance starts to feel normal, even comfortable. Until one day, you realize you're surrounded by people you talk to all the time and still feel alone. There's a moment that happens right before you finally call someone, that deep breath, that tiny pause. It's like crossing a line between safety and honesty, because once they answer, you can't hide behind the screen anymore. You're there, exposed, with your voice carrying all the things you can't text. And even though it feels vulnerable, there's something grounding about it, like remembering how to breathe after holding it for too long. When you hear someone's voice, everything changes. Their tone says what words can't. The small laughs, the sighs, the quiet pauses, they remind you that there's a real person on the other end. The conversation moves at its own rhythm. You can't control it, can't polish it, can't rehearse it. You just have to show up, and that kind of presence is rare now. It's easy to forget how comforting that sound can be, how a voice can calm you, even when nothing's being solved, how it can make distance feel smaller, or make silence feel shared instead of empty. We avoid calls because they make us feel too much, but maybe that's exactly why we need them. Calling someone isn't just about talking, it's about returning to something real. It's a reminder that connection was never supposed to be perfect. It was supposed to be alive, unpredictable, and full of feeling. The call we keep avoiding might be the one that reminds us we're still capable of being heard. Imagine the sound of a phone ringing. Just a simple ring, steady, familiar, a little intrusive. Then a click,
Hello?
and someone's voice fills the silence.
Haven't heard from you in a while.
It's awkward at
How
first.
are you?
You stumble through the hello, unsure of what to say next.
Here at home.
But then slowly, the conversation finds its rhythm. You laugh. You pause. You listen. And in that moment, you remember what connection actually feels like. Not instant, not filtered, but alive. Calling someone might always feel a little uncomfortable. There's no delete button, no chance to rewrite your words. But that's the point. Discomfort is proof that something real is happening. It means you're showing up as yourself, without edits, without delay. In a world built to keep us comfortable and in control, a call is one of the few things that still asks for courage. Because connection isn't supposed to be convenient. It's supposed to be human, messy, emotional, unpredictable. The sound of someone's voice on the other end of the line isn't just noise, it's presence. It's vulnerability made audible. So maybe we shouldn't run from that feeling anymore. Maybe the next time the phone rings, we can pick it up, not because it's easy, but because it's real.